So I think it's important to know the story of ATPCO. You know, as Amit said, it started over 60 years ago with the founding of the Airline Tariff Publishers Incorporated in 1965. And in those days, ATP was basically a printing company. We had 4 massive industrial printer machines in the basement of the company. And I'm going to fast forward a little bit. I think we finally got rid of them 2 years ago. We had a big empty basement. So, you know, basically what the company would do is it would collect the changes from the airlines and it would ship tariff books to all the travel agencies, all of the airports, and then eventually it would start to update those. And every day around the world, everybody would get updates to these big, thick books. And reorganization and eventually deregulation in the 1970s spurred ATPCO to change, and we shifted from manually filing hundreds and thousands of tariff pages every day to millions of pages and millions of changes electronically. And then automation came, and those thousands and millions of changes turned into tens of millions. And by 2010, there was 100 million fares in the system. Today, our database holds over 300 million fares. And on the average day, we get 3 billion changes to the database. On heavy load days, we have records every year. This year, over 5 billion changes in a single day. So as we move from static fares to dynamic pricing at scale, these volumes have proven to us the consistent need for airlines to reach their customers with the right information and to provide interoperability as the industry changes. So as the foundation of modern airline retailing, we envision a future in which the industry fundamentally moves from low-fare search, price being the primary attribute in which customers decide, to merchandising and attribute-based search that offers the foundation of flight shopping for the future. And ATPCO is here to support this shift, grounded by our history and fueled by the future. So why is this important? Well, you heard a little bit about this from our previous presenter, but ultimately we know when presented with customized offers, consumers have better experiences. They generate more loyalty, and most often they choose higher yielding products to meet their needs. So this is where ATPCO is focusing our investments to support our airline partners in this journey to customize offers and doing this at scale. This is not a quick change, but will require transformation across the entire offer order lifecycle, from creating the offer, distributing the offers, presenting the offers, and ultimately service and settling. So Dynamic Offers is changing flight shopping by providing, as you just heard, the seller and traveler with more value than ever before, offering the right offer to the right customer at the right time. And our success is really based upon the industry's success, which is why we're committed to building the framework to enable the industry standards and towards dynamic offers, with a goal by 2026 to have 80% of all offers sold in the marketplace being dynamically generated. With that commitment in mind, ATPCO has developed a long-range plan, which is approved by our Board of Airlines, that enables the industry with the framework necessary to achieve this 80%. This is the first time in history ATPCO has had an industry outcome as a goal, not an ATPCO outcome. So if the industry makes it, we know we've been successful. So to achieve this vision, transformation and innovation is required for all of the industry. And we're here to support the industry through leveraging and transforming our current content and technology, facilitating new content, and ultimately involving our standards to ensure that there's a clear roadmap for each airline. Because each of you is going to have your own goal for dynamic offers. And in fact, we already have airlines that are using ATP code distribution and content that are at 75% dynamic offers. And it's taken them years to get there, which is why we are committed to help lowering the friction, lowering the complexity to allow more airlines to get there. And we also know we have many airlines who have not even begun this journey. Wherever you are, we're here to help. So that 80% is not ATP code dictating what you should do. That 80% lets us know that we have done the work, that we have lowered the barriers, simplified our processes, allowed transformation and bridges in our infrastructure and data to allow you to get to where you need to get to. And we're getting to the future we envision with data, collaboration, and standards. Ultimately, that leads to scalability and technology. So with collaboration, let's start with data. We have the data that you can trust today. For over 90% of offers from over 400 carriers and airlines, continuing to explore, and we're continuing to explore what the new data is needed to move the industry in the future, and we have some really interesting presentations later on things that we're working on in that vein. And with collaboration, driving collective industry success, we have collaborative standard setting led by over 15 ATPCO councils and design teams. And this gives every one of you a voice on the input into the future. This collaboration and standards ultimately drives to scalability, which allows global connection across the airline and industry partner ecosystem. For airlines, ATPCO does the work, getting your content across the industry efficiently and lowering the cost of switching. For technology vendors, you can connect to one company and get access to all the data you need for multiple airlines. And with technology, we will continue to build and innovate what you need to move forward by evolving our current products to grow with you, and it all starts with standards. So how are we doing? I'm a data guy, so I like to keep track. What's the score? The score is 23%. So we found currently, as an industry, there's about 23% of sold offers in the marketplace are dynamically created. So this number doesn't seem high, but it represents a fundamental shift in the market, and this is only going to continue to grow. So this 23% was also met while ATPCO continued to see record levels, as I showed earlier, in our fare and rule volumes. Now, these volumes have been increasing over the years as more fares are put into the market by airlines already incorporating dynamic pricing. So one of the interesting things we're seeing with some of the early adopters is we had a thesis, or I'll say I had a thesis, Tom had a different thesis, that as airlines started to do more dynamically, they would be doing less filing with ATPCO. And what we're finding is that's not the case. As they want to create more dynamic offers through NDC and directly in their own channels, they need a correlating base fare in the filings to ensure that these things are connected, the bridge between both worlds. So we're seeing volumes of both offers, dynamic offers increasing, as well as filed fares increasing. We're also keeping track of how we're doing in the marketplace. What you can see here is what we call the industry maturity matrix. On the left-hand axis is how sophisticated are the products that airlines are offering in the marketplace today. Most often that's in our system. How many ancillaries are you publishing with us? Are you taking advantage of things like branded fares? Those are more sophisticated products. And on the bottom, is how sophisticated is your pricing? How often are you changing your prices? How big is your fare ladder? How often and how many prices per market? Are you taking advantages of things like dual RBD? Because the reality is, on the lower left-hand side, you see we had 137 airlines when we first started measuring this that were doing the most basic things. They were filing some prices, filing some rules, not really filing any ancillaries. They were not modern retailers. They were just doing price and rules, essentially. And they were not updating this very often. And what you can see today is a shift up into the left, taking more advantage of more ancillaries, offering your customers more options, taking advantage of branded fares. My commercial team will keep me honest on this. I think we've had another 30 airlines start branded fares this year. It's probably a record for us since we started in branded fares quite a long time ago. So for us, we recognize you're not going to go from the lower left-hand corner jump all the way to the right and start to do dynamic offers tomorrow. There's no scenario in which that happens. As an organization, you have to understand the value of adding ancillary information, the value of starting to brand some of your offerings, starting to offer more price points. So what ATPCO really offers you is the ability to move up that ladder to take advantage of more and more of what your customers are asking for. Understand what they're asking for so that when it's time, you're ready to start to do those things off of traditional ATP code, take advantage of those things directly, and start to do dynamic offers. We can help you the entire life cycle, no matter where you are on this matrix. Now, this is the fare volumes. As you can see, the increase in just the last few years, and the volumes will continue to rise as fare shifts become more dynamic. Because again, what we're finding is those airlines that are the farthest left, that are doing 75% dynamic offers, they see the value in lots and lots of offerings in the marketplace and ensuring that the right customer gets the right offer. So they are simultaneously filing more and more fares. And we are, as an organization, at record levels. I also, just a little bit of kudos out to our technical team. I know a few of them are here today. We have been managing this massive increase at volume at very little price increase, if any, to our customers. So I know a number of you got your price changes for the year. I think that you hopefully will be pleasantly surprised that on average, it is at or below what inflation is. And that's because we understand we're here for you. We're an industry utility. We're here to drive efficiencies. We're not here to drive cost. And how are we going to do this? We're going to do this by doing what we do best, by working with all of you to make this transformation based upon the same key principles that we started in 1965. We'll deliver a simplified platform where each airline will have the flexibility to manage their own roadmap and how they're going to get to dynamic offers. The building block to that platform exists today with our data, with our standards, and with our products. So the data is the foundation of all of our solutions. The integration, I think I should be able to do this, provides access to that data, and ultimately, our user interface allows the analysis and output that you need to support your business. As each airline defines their goals for dynamic offers, ATPCO will be able to provide the flexibility and solutions to support that path. Not every airline is going to need every solution. We understand that. Okay. Now I want to turn it over to Tom Gregerson. Tom is our Chief Strategy Officer, and he's going to take us through some of the solutions that ATPCO has today and things we're working on in the future to help support your individual path to dynamic offers.
Thank you, Alex. It's really good to see you all. It's been many, many years since I've been in Dubai. I think it was 2016 the last time I was here, and it's good to see so many familiar faces again. I've been in airline revenue management veteran. I started in this industry over 35 years, working in an airline, working in revenue management, and I do believe it is the most fascinating job there is in this world, and that it's a constantly changing, constantly evolving practice where you improve the process. At ATPCO, we've been really working on what Alex was calling how do we enable the transformation of the industry to dynamic offers. And the foundation, as Alex mentioned, is data. It's always been data. That the content that we have to work with and the data we have to work with will drive the sophistication of the revenue management and the offer generation process in order to move it forward. So for us, we actually took a look at the data and we looked and said, what are the main pieces of the foundational construction that's going to happen for offer management in the future to get to a modern airline retailing? There's the first part is really transformed ATPCO data. A lot of the pieces that we have today will continue to exist, but we know that we have to transform it and make it more applicable and more available in the new dynamic offer generation. There'll be new data that's going to be required in order to drive machine learning. And big data moves to machine learning, moves to AI, and advances the sophistication of the price calculation. You'll need more and more data sources, and we're here to support that. And then last but not least, it's also merchandising data is also required. If you are really going to create a customized offer, a dynamic offer, it does you no good unless the customer can see the value proposition that you're offering to them in that customized offer. So that's with enhanced merchandising content with pictures and videos and the targeting rules. And then it all has to flow through what we call the life cycle. If it stops in just the shopping process and doesn't flow all the way through the ecosystem, you will have revenue leakage. You will have revenue that will be diluted from your books because you're not able to account for it and allocate it properly in order to move it forward. So we looked at those and we said, what are some real life examples that we're working on at ATPCO to enable those? In the transform data, we really looked at it and we said, we need to move as an industry and separate the product construction from the price construction. We are reaching a point where airlines cannot keep up by managing that as one data set. They have to say, okay, I'm creating fares and rules and all that stuff, and have to file more and more of those to create more product offers. So how do we separate the product from the price construction? This was an idea that we came up with, which is product catalog. It's worked with IATA in their support of their standard to NDC and all to have product attributes. So what we have done is we look to see what are the product attributes that currently exist in the data sets, so what's existing in rules, optional services, amenities, and the like, and how do we extract that and create a foundational product catalog that can be used as your master product catalog that can serve the transformation moving forward. So we're transforming current data sets into a product catalog view, which is really just the hard product attributes without price. There are three main use cases for this product catalog, and they're all being fed from this master data set. One is what we call a supplier catalog. Supplier catalog is airline to airline. So if you have a interline relationship, a JV partnership, a code share, you'll want to make sure your customer knows of the products that they're going to get or the services they're going to get from beginning to end of the journey. So a product catalog can be used in order to share, these are the products that I have to offer, and these are how it's going to work in an interline arrangement. There is also offer creation, and this is using that product catalog at the heart of the creation of the offers. So in your offer engine, you would take the product catalog and you would be able to dynamically construct the product that's customized to the offer or the passenger request at the time. So this will redrive of how we're actually doing pricing and shopping in the world today. You're actually using product attributes to dynamically construct your product composition. Then you overlay with your science in order to apply the price. And the last but not least, going back to the merchandising aspect, there's airline profile. As an airline, you're going to want to communicate to the world, to the sellers of the world, the channels and the sellers, what are your products that you have to offer? So if they have a request from a customer that wants one of your products, they will know to ask you through NDC or through some other mechanism in order to say, please construct a customized offer in order to make that work. This is an exciting movement that we're doing, and you'll hear more about that in our dynamic offer sessions. Going to the price side of it, we had an interview with over 20 of the largest airlines in the world, talked to their data scientists, talked to where they're going with their models as far as price calculation. And we've seen that there's going to be 5 types of data that's going to be required in order to be able to move forward into this next generation of price calculation. So this is going from a rules-based process to a science-based process. The science-based process will use this foundational data that I just talked about, but in addition, there'll be need to have improved competitive insights, improved product performance insights, improved traveler insights, and improved economic and environmental insights. We believe at ATPCO that one of the key sources that we have untapped yet in the industry that could be used to leverage this is shopping data. That's the natural traffic of consumers searching and looking for your services and working to see how we extract offers, how we extract the product performance, how do we extract traveler insights, and how do we extract new demand signals of who's looking for where from the shopping data. We have a pilot that we're working on right now with several airlines using AWS clean rooms and seeing how do we allow airlines to be able to participate in this pilot to leverage that data that they have access to, maybe even to allow it to be aggregated at an industry level so you have a holistic view in order to see how you can perform and do more with the data that we have available. As I mentioned, story's not complete with just creating the price or creating the product composition. It goes into then merchandising. Route Happy is here really to be the fundamental piece that is to drive your customized offer presentation to the consumer. So we're looking to enhance the content coverage of the Route Happy product, bringing more premium UPAs, the pictures and videos that they need to have access to it, bringing more amenities with 99% of all of the carrier's flights are now covered with the amenities file. This really allows that the sellers are able to target and present the virtues of your customized offers in a way that's really meaningful and representative of the area. We have recently just signed a partnership with IATA to extend this content to actually incorporate CO2 information into the Route Happy product, so you can actually even promote even your to the consumer where they're socially aware on the green effect and how that is actually being what you're doing in that area. On the standard side, we continue to work on the Route Happy product to bring that standards to an industrialized stage, incorporating into the NDC standard and incorporating and working with the channels, which what we call Appendix N, that's a sexy marketing name, of how you actually promote the key attributes that the travelers are looking for and be able to have those at the very top end of the funnel so the consumer can put in those attributes in their search request to drive dynamic offers. And then, as I mentioned, it does no good if it just stops at the shopping process. It has to flow all the way through the ecosystem. We recently had a conversation with 20 heads of the revenue accounting departments of the largest airlines in the world, and what they said is, on their journey to offers and orders as an airline, we are much further along on offer generation. The sophistication of the offers continues to grow. Orders is slow. Only 3 of the 20 have even a project in place to do one order. So what that means is they need to be able to take that offer information and somehow be able to incorporate that into their existing revenue accounting process. So things like fare type that drive settlement values and things like fare classes that drive tax calculation, they say those things still need to flow all the way through. So as we're thinking about dynamic offer generation, how do we get those flowing through? And we are working with them to ensure that happens. So that's the data side. On the integration side, as Alex mentioned, integration is key. We are the platform that has the data, but it does no good unless you can access and get and interact with the data. So there's 2 main parts of integration. There is data supply, how you actually get data into the ATPCO ecosystem. We have uploads, we have APIs, and we have express contracts, which are 3 main uses of how you can put data in without having to manually key it into the system. That allows more robust coverage to handle the volumes and the growth that we've been talking about. And then on the export side, we have subscriptions, downloads, and also APIs, where you can then also then interact and extract the data. Now, why is this integration so important? Well, you can make many steps to dynamic offer construction without having to go to that end state. Here's one use case from one of the systems that we have been talking with that they have shared with us. They have done what we had originally identified as part of dynamic offer creation as quantum pricing. Quantum pricing is no more than taking your current ecosystem, your current pricing and revenue management system, and applying some machine learning and some science on top. So how it works is they take an hourly update from the system, saying here's the fares and rules that were updated. They apply their machine learning and saying, I think I can recalibrate the old bid price or moving to a willingness to pay calculation in order to determine the price that should be out there. Feed those back into the ATPCO via an upload process, and then be able to generate those prices that are more closely representative of the consumer's willingness to pay. That has actually generated a large improvement. In their one case study, they had a 6% uplift in revenue, 9% uplift in load factor, and 7% uplift in yield. Well, that's really the triple crown effect for revenue management. If you get yield uplift and load factor all going up, it's really a win-win-win. And the UI side is really the last piece of the equation. We do not believe, I never believed at ATPCO, that we will be living in a fully automated solution where it's a black box of machine learning that's going to do pricing. It's an art and science. We believe in a glass box where the user can see and interact with the items. Ours is Architect. Architect is really going to be your glass box for the future. It has all the three fundamental layers that we talked about. It has the data layer with all the information to the data or access to the data that we talked about. It will have also the UI or integration layer, which is really API integration so you can interact with the system, as well as applying your own machine learning on top. And then last but not least, it'll be an evolving application. This is our core. This is what we do. So we will make sure that Architect remains relevant for today, as well as extends for tomorrow. With that, I want to say we have really three great topics in this conference. And you're saying, why do we have three different topics in this one conference? They're not. They're very interrelated. I hope I shared with you that we have dynamic offers, which is really around how do we evolve the offer creation set. We have Route Happy, which is how do you take those dynamic offers and present the virtues to those and be able to extend those. And then we have Architect. Architect is the platform for you to be able to price and do your work today as well as the future. So with that, I hope you have a great conference, attend the different sessions, see us in there, and I'm glad to talk with you on anything we've talked about so far.